Page and Windows Media Player will play the sports talk you want to hear. Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here.
Step this way for the Spanish Inquisition. Just a little coffee talk, okay, like butter.
Matt's an okay dude, but he's a dummy.
Michael! Oh, that's funny. Michael!
And now, broadcasting live from the Elevation 5280 Sports Studios in Denver, Colorado, this is the Wheelhouse with Matt Mascarenas and Michael Spillett.
I've said it 2 years ago. I'll say it again, Matt, that Will Barton can and will shoot you out of a game. That was the same criticism that I had of J.R. Smith when he was here, Matt. Yeah, he'll drain 5 3-pointers in a row, but then he'll miss 10 in a row. And you always say, a shooter needs to keep shooting. No, never believed in that sentiment, especially with guys like a J.R. Smith and a Will Barton, guys who will shoot you out of a game.
I agree 100% on this team being a pretender right now. And you mentioned it, Will Barton, there's no semblance of a rotation on this basketball team. There's no bench. The bench is awful. You can't have Mike Malone keeping Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray when he's on the court, when he's playing, or your starters playing 35, 40 plus minutes a game because you can't take a rest. You can't let your bench come in because they're going to give up double-digit leads. They're going to give up double-digit runs.
I'm going to invite Matt.
All work and no play makes Michael a dull boy.
Now, Matt and Michael are on.
And welcome into the Wheelhouse here, Elevation5280sports.com. Matt and Mike hanging out with you on this Sunday morning as usual. A lot to get into today, Matt. How are we this morning?
I'm good. I'm doing all right. We always run into these issues where it's technical issues, something really simple and silly. And I've been battling this camera up here, and it has fallen at least 3 times since I've turned it on. So I'm really close to getting like some Gorilla Glue. Remember the Gorilla Glue girl that put it in her hair? Well, I'm going to do that to this camera. I'm going to glue it right onto my monitor up there if it falls off one more time. But other than that, I'm doing great. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Doing good. As we, again, a lot to get into this morning on the show. Don't forget, we are streaming live everywhere and everything, anything you ever wanted right now on Elevation5280sports.com. That is our home base. Also on Facebook Live, like the page if you haven't already on Elevation 5280 Sports, and also follow us on Twitter at 5280 Sports Radio. Subscribe to the YouTube page as well. Like the TikTok page, everywhere. Just absolutely everywhere, and on twitch.tv/5280 radio. We are bringing back some of your favorite segments this morning. In just about 10 minutes, we'll get into Fire and Ice. More to do with your homeboys saga up there in Green Bay. I don't think they like that dude. But Basketball Hall of Fame enshrinement.
Kulikins or Roger?
Both, apparently. They're just doing things left and right to make that man angry. And also, Matt, the Basketball Hall of Fame enshrinement was yesterday as well. Don't know if you caught that. We'll break that down as well. Also, NHL playoffs started yesterday, this week. We'll get into that as well. But, Matt, let's kick things off with some of the fights that some people may have missed or, a lot of people don't know much about.
Man, huge card last night. It was UFC 262. We're going to crown a new lightweight champion at 155 with the retirement of Khabib Nurmagomedov. When he retired, he left that space wide open. And we were waiting as fight fans, and everybody we were like, what's going to be next for that 155-pound division? And we saw it. We got what was probably one of the craziest first couple rounds that we've seen in a while. Of course, you had UFC 262 last night. The main event headliner was the title bout between Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. And of course, if you don't know, Michael Chandler's I think he's like 10, 12-year vet from Bellator. He was multiple champion over there, lightweight champion over there a couple times. Comes over here, gets a huge finish over Dan Hooker to get him this title shot. And I mean, when he was signed here, he was signed to get into this lightweight division and to add more, I guess more. This lightweight division stacked, so it was just to make it even better. And he's been around a long time. He's been a champion multiple times, like I mentioned. So a lot of people were saying that maybe he might not have deserved this title shot. Maybe it was Justin Gaethje that was probably the one that wanted it, or that deserved it more than Michael Chandler. It was offered to Dustin Poirier, but as we know, Dustin Poirier is fighting Conor McGregor here pretty soon. So it was set, and man, what a first round. Now, I haven't watched the entire fight yet, but I was able, or the entire card yet. I got home late last night, and it was just one of those late cards, but I was able to watch this main event. Because it didn't last very long, and I was able to watch some clips of it, and actually, I mean, like I said, watch the majority of it, and it was one of the most exciting fights, first couple rounds. In the first round, I thought Michael Chandler was going to just finish him. He was dominating him. He was hitting him hard. He even had him down. He dropped him, and he controlled that fight for the majority of that first round. Come out into the second round, and Charles Oliveira tees off on him, catches him, drops Michael Chandler, and that's a wrap in 19 seconds in the first round. Charles Oliveira is the 11th lightweight champion in the UFC, and it is awesome. I mean, this guy Charles Oliveira has been fighting for the UFC since 2011, and he's been on a long road, a long journey to get to this point, and he did it. He's successful, and it was tremendous, and I can't wait to watch the rest of this card. I know Tony Ferguson and Benel Dariush was on this card. I want to watch that fight. Tony Ferguson losing his third fight in a row, and it's very unfortunate because Tony Ferguson, for the longest time, was thought to be that guy that could beat Khabib. And I mean, now, and you can't really look at Tony Ferguson and say, hey, he's not winning, or he's losing a step. He's fought at least two former champions, one interim champion, and now the champion. That's who he's lost to, Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. He lost to, and then now Dariush, who is one of those guys that is an up and coming fighter, who is somebody that could be thrown into this title picture. So I can't wait to watch the rest of this card, but man, what a main event last night. And it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint at all. If you were looking for that kind of fight, that kind of main event, we got it. So congratulations, Charles Oliveira, the 11th lightweight champion of the UFC. And Conor McGregor already called out, said, hey, he's the 11th. Who do you think is going to be the 12th? So he's already eyeing that championship, but he has to beat Dustin Poirier first to even get a sniff at that championship. So great night of fights. I can't wait to watch the rest of them.
There you go. And actually an early text already from Golden Glen, our homeboy up in Golden, as we are based here in Denver. Matt says, has nothing to do with fighting, but what do you think about Conor McGregor wanting to purchase Manchester United?
It goes right into what, I mean, Conor McGregor just came out and he was on the list of the most the athletes that are worth the most. He was number one on that list. I can't remember the exactly title of that list, but the most I don't want to call it the richest athletes, but I guess he came out, he was number one on that list. And you know who was numbered? I don't know if you've seen this, Mike, but number 3 or number 4 was Dak Prescott, and right behind him was LeBron James. But two players in that top 5 range were soccer players. So it makes sense with all these athletes going into buying. You've seen Alex Rodriguez buy the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dwayne Wade, he was trying to buy something. There's all these athletes. LeBron James was talking about buying a franchise or getting involved in ownership. And with the sell of Proper 12, Conor McGregor's just sold Proper 12. He's heading that way, and that's what a lot of these athletes, fighters, you want to call them, whatever, they're looking at expanding their name and their brand, and that's where we're going into. I think it's great, and it's crazy. That's a big club. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a soccer head. I'm sure we could get our stories from the pitch host to talk about that, or I would love to see what he has to say about that. But it's crazy that these athletes, and Conor McGregor, he could do it. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna have some partners to do it, but it's on brand to where these athletes are going, and their mindsets are going to further their brand when they're done doing whatever their sport is.
Yeah, so we'll see if he's able to do that. And you mentioned A-Rod. I mean, he bought the with a entrepreneur friend bought the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, you dump J-Lo and then you just buy the Minnesota Timberwolves. Apparently,
well, did you see that? I guess
maybe she was more expensive than the Timberwolves.
Right. I guess there's like talks that they were talking about. A-Rod and Ben Affleck were having a discussion, hey, I'm going to go ahead and release her so you can sign her, because Ben Affleck re-signed her to a contract.
That's
like
quick,
that.
too.
Did you see that?
Yeah, that was quicker than the Los Angeles Dodgers picking up somebody yesterday. We will get into that here. Fire and Ice coming your way next right here on the Wheelhouse Elevation 5280sports.com.
Interact with Elevation 5280 Sports on social media, like our Facebook page.
People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why not build a website that offers that?
Follow us on Twitter at 5280 Sports Radio.
What the heck is a Twitter?
Also, follow us on Twitch at Elevation 5280 Radio to watch the Stalking Dead live.
Little pig, let me in.
And as always, check us out online at elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here.
Hey, Michael Spillane here for the Flash Hauler Driving app, a convenient app for on-demand furniture moving, vehicle towing, and courier service. If you like being out on the road, not having people breathing down your neck, pressuring you to get stuff done by deadlines and time limits, join our fleet on the Flash Hauler Driving app. Earn money by driving your pickup or van, be your own boss, making your own schedule, not to mention the feeling of helping truckless people getting their furniture moved to wherever they need. If vehicle towing is more in your arena, we provide that service as well. And if you don't have a truck or a van, no worries. The app enables you to do courier gigs. It's an easy process to sign up and get approved to be part of the Flash Hauler Hero team. Be proud of what you do while you do it at your convenience. So what are you waiting for? Grab your phone, download and install the Flash Hauler, that's FLASHOLR driver app, or visit our website, HOLR-apps.com. Getting it hauled in a flash.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever. So take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Elevation5280sports.com is more than just a streaming radio station.
Night, y'all.
Rule the water cooler conversation by keeping up to date with scores and stats from your favorite team.
Shot scored! Nathan McKinnon from the high slot on a perfect feed from Mikko Rantanen.
Get to know your favorite hosts, access show lineups and past shows in the audio vault, and in-depth analysis from our sports experts and bloggers. Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here. This segment on Elevation 5280 Sports is brought to you by the Flash Hauler Driver app, helping people move in a flash. It's now time for Fire.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. On fire. I'm the only one of burning desire. Let me stand next to your fire.
And Ice.
Ice Cube, baby. You're as cold as ice. Ice, ice, baby.
And welcome back in here. It is time for Fire and Ice. Matt, Mike hanging out with you here on Elevation5280sports.com. Matt, well, there is a lot to get into in this Fire and Ice segment. And where do you want to kick it off, fire or ice?
I think let's do ice. Let's get the icy stuff out of the way.
Yeah, the icy stuff is, I mean, it's on thin ice, pun intended. All right, Matt, number 3 on the ice list. Well, the We didn't have a chance to talk about this, but the NFL schedule was released last week, and a lot of give and go, a lot of things that people are confused by. Locally here in Denver, Matt, we're used to having 2-3 primetime games. How about only one this week or this year? How about only one this season? Because, well, let's face it, the Broncos have been lackluster, to say the least, and it's a required Thursday night game. So they really didn't have any choice in the matter. So it is one of those Thursday night games for the Denver Broncos. We will see Tampa Bay on the opening Thursday. So the defending world champions, we will get to see them first thing when the NFL season kicks off. Man, what did you make of the schedule? Any key games? How about the NFL scheduling the Packers for 3 primetime games? Although we don't know if your boy is going to be there.
Man, the schedule thing is crazy. And when I saw that the 3, because if you talk to a lot of people that are in the know or they think they know everything, they'll tell you watch what the odds makers do and watch what the league does. Well, the odds makers, like, I don't know if you saw this too. They got, I think, like the starting day quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, like, or that starting game, it's like the Saints and the Packers, I think it is. And there's the odds are off on that one. And then you look at the Broncos game, the opening days, they're kind of off because they're anticipating that Aaron Rodgers might not be there and he might be in a Broncos uniform. So they're kind of looking at that as kind of a silly situation. But I was kind of curious to see that the NFL, but now the way I understand it, these schedules are made. I don't know how much in advance, but they're out there. But when you pick where they put these games, that's where the NFL controls that most, or when they're shown, what day they're showing primetime and whatnot. Like you mentioned, the Broncos, 29 years or something like that they've been on a Monday night football game, and now they're not going to be on one. And there's some folks around town blaming Drew Lock about that. Nobody wants to see number 3 or Teddy Bridgewater out there and blah, blah, blah. We still got Von Miller over there. You still got Bradley Chubb. You got Jerry Jeudy. There's a lot of, so that was very, very curious to me as well. And also too, if there was a chance that Rodgers was going to be here still, then that could have, mixed up and it's like, well, hey, we got to get him on a Monday night football game. So that was very, very interesting to me. And I just love the everybody. And I don't know if you've seen this, Mike, but I've seen a lot of those way too early schedule predictions. There's people that are having teams going 17 or 18-0. They're having them go 7. Like they're the math's all screwed up now by one game. One game screwed up everybody's math. Well, I think the team's going to go 12 and 6.5. And like, wait a minute, that doesn't add up. That's 18 games. Well, what about the bye? So all that stuff is just funny and hilarious to me. And I've seen mocks of Broncos, or we're just talking about the Broncos right now, but they're going like 12-5 or almost undefeated to not even barely winning a couple games. So I found that interesting. One game that I'm going to be glued to, and I think it, and I want to see what you think about this. It might be the most watched regular season game ever, and that's when Tampa Bay goes to New England. And I'm just curious. It is like if that, let's be bigger than the Super Bowl, blah blah blah. Like they're making a really, really big deal about how big that game could be. Even Tom Brady was even kind of getting excited about it, talking about it when they were asking him. So I'm looking forward to that game. I want to see if the Cleveland Browns, everything I've been reading and watching, that they got something for Kansas City this year. They got something for this AFC this year. So I'm curious to see what that game looks like, Kansas City and Cleveland. So there's a lot of other games out there that I'm excited for, like usually division rivalries, stuff like that. The North Division, whether Aaron Rodgers there or not, those Packer games, those Packer Bears games are always great games. The Minnesota Vikings, Packers, so stuff like that I'm looking forward to as well. But yeah, I mean, that game, Tampa and New England, I think it's in October, isn't it, or something like that?
Which game was that?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New England Patriots.
Week 4, so it should be around October. Yes, we're in that time frame. Speaking of, how about $1,300 up to $150,000 for a ticket to that game to see old Tom Brady back in Foxborough? And I don't know if you caught this, but his dad went on a Boston radio station last week and basically said that Well, he was calling it we and us and stuff like that. So his dad and his dad still lives in Boston. So, he's saying we're going to come into this game already 3-0 and leave 4-0. So he's already talking smack to the local Boston radio stations there. And speaking of that, also, Matt, we're going to kind of combine this ice into another ice, and that is sticking in the NFL, Matt. And how do you like this jersey change rule now that wide receivers and cornerbacks and offensive linemen can wear like number 2? I don't think offensive linemen. I think there's still parameters, but like wide receivers now and cornerbacks, along with quarterbacks, are allowed to wear single digits.
Right. I think the linemen, defensive and offensive, I think they still have to wear. I know the offensive linemen do. They still have to wear that number exception. I think it's 50 through 79 that they have to wear, so you can designate offensive linemen, I think. But other than that, I don't like it. Leave that crap in college. In my opinion, and yeah, I'm not fun at parties, blah, 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 whatever. Leave that stuff in college, man. I look at it, and I saw a lot of people getting excited over here, and they're saying that, KJ Hamler's number 2 just hits different. What? It's a jersey number. Like, I don't understand. And from the player's perspective, it's like, well, let them have some fun, man. Let them show some individuality out there. That's the NFL. This is professional football player. This is professional football league. It's professionals. You're not in college anymore. You're not in high school anymore. And if you really understood what those numbers were, exceptions were for, and why they were numbers, because there was a lot of times in high school and maybe in some colleges, they don't have enough jerseys. So you have to wear the same numbers, and then you have to wear number 2 number. There's a lot of reasons that go by why they wear certain numbers. I don't care, but I don't like it. Like, it got me. I was rolling my eyes there. I had to take like a break from social media. I had to stop looking at Twitter because everybody just gushing over what number this guy is, what number that guy took. And it's all around the league. So I'm not a fan of it at all. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. And if you're going to show individual, I don't know. You're playing, like, what do we do? Are we playing for the team that's on the front of the jersey, back of like, what are we doing now when we get all these numbers? I mean, I just don't like it.
Yeah, and I forgot who it was, but he said he wanted to change his jersey number, but he would have to buy up like $100,000 of the inventory that's already been accounted for and buy all the remaining jerseys with his old number, so he could not switch his number. And I forgot who it was. I don't remember who it was. I was a wide receiver, but I don't remember which wide receiver it was. And for example, here in Denver, Matt, Patrick Surtain's going to wear number 2, the same number that he wore in college. KJ Hamler switching to number 1.
Number 1, yeah.
And so there you go. All right, Matt, moving down this ice list, staying in the NFL, Matt. I don't know. I mean, this is like a soap opera nowadays. This is just keep going on and on and on. But the Green Bay Packers add another quarterback over the weekend to add to the so-called room of now Blake Bortles, which we didn't even get to mention yet, Matt, and Aaron Rodgers.
You done messed up, Aaron!
So there you go. We don't know what's going on here with the Green Bay Packers, but they bring in a former Atlanta Falcons quarterback now to add to that quarterback room. I'm throwing that in air quotes because this is just getting weirder and weirder and more annoying as time goes on. And locally here in Denver, Matt, the odds are still pretty good that the Broncos will get Aaron Rodgers when the time comes. I was almost fooled, Matt, in a Twitter. I saw a Twitter post. I don't even know who the dude is, saying that Aaron Rodgers retired after 16 years. Even had a professional banner up there saying via Adam Schefter. So it looked legit, but again, had to verify it anywhere else, and that was fake news. So that did not make my morning too good. But I mean, man, this saga just won't end right now.
It's not going to end in anytime soon. Like when this first started, like, and I even said it on here, I was like, well, it's just a money grab, right? It's Aaron Rodgers coming out and saying, well, I want more money, doing all this so he could get more money. But as time goes on and everything that's been said and talked about, and if you go look through the history of what Gutekunst have done and that whole it's really, it's where there's a lot that has gone on to where I don't know if it's repairable with that guy in place. And it's almost like kind of very similar to the situation we had here in Denver or in Colorado with the Rockies and Nolan Arenado, although different circumstances, different deal. But, you know, it was like one or the other, and then one left and then the other one's gone, you know, a couple months later. I don't know if that's going to happen there. I don't know if the Green Bay Packers are going to do that because that's, in my mind, I don't know if there's enough money right now at this point. Maybe earlier in the year, which I thought was going to happen. I was reading and listening to a lot of things that are coming out of Green Bay saying that they were going to make him one of the highest, if not the highest paid quarterback. They were going to do that. They were going to give him money. But then all of a sudden it died out. And then now, boom, you got this. And so according to Schefter, this wasn't like this draft night stuff wasn't like breaking news. It wasn't something that just happened. It was an accumulation of things, and it just got released. It got put out there. And I know Rodgers and those guys were kind of upset that it got put out there. I don't know why, because in my opinion, it sounds like they wanted it out there. Rodgers camp wanted it out there. So it looks like they're preparing for life without Aaron Rodgers, because they don't have Jordan Love didn't have a lot of chance to get ready last year to be in a situation to even compete this year, to be that guy. And they're not holding a lot of confidence in him. So they're signing these Blake Bortles. I mean, there's a lot of, and then also too, Mike, there's players that are talking about leaving with him. It's like there's players that are looking at wanting to be traded, wanting to get out of there, wanting to be released, whatever it is, just to go with Aaron Rodgers. They don't want to be here anymore. So I'm annoyed with it, man. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the team and I'm a fan of the player, and I'm annoyed as hell with it. And I wish it would get over with, or we would get some clarity. But I think after June 1st, which is everybody's been saying, we're going to find more out after June 1st. I think that'll start to come into play. But ultimately, I think history is going to repeat itself, and we're going to see an Aaron Rodgers trade sometime in July or August, like we did with Brett Favre, and then we're going to go with that saga. I don't know if he's going to be a Denver Bronco, though. I was thinking the same thing along those lines, but looking at the Packers and looking at the past, there's no trade clause. He doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract. They can trade him to wherever they want to trade him to. So I don't know. I really don't know what the outcome of this is going to look like, but it's yucky and it's annoying and it's entertaining, kind of, sort of, but not really, man.
Yeah, I find it more. Yeah, it's become annoying now. And the dude they signed over the weekend, Matt, former Atlanta Falcons quarterback Kurt Benkert.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you have a name that features Kurt twice, I don't know how good he is at quarterback. So we're going to see and find out. What are the odds, or what's your over under 50%, Matt, that Aaron Rodgers actually retires? Like, do they call his bluff and kind of force him into retirement? What's your odds on that?
I think he could retire. I think he could. Like, I haven't heard anything with the Jeopardy stuff, but if that all of a sudden, hey, yeah, Aaron, we'll take you. I could totally see him retiring. I'm not saying he's going to be done playing football, but for now in this whole situation, I really think, and I know there's John Coons coming out and said some stuff that hey, it's repairable. It can still be repaired. There's another player that's close to him that said it. I think AJ Hawk might have even said it too. That hey, these guys talk to him quite a bit, and they say that it's not a done deal. It's repairable. I don't know, man. The stuff that the GM has done with Aaron, I think, and we've talked about this before, when he cut that receiver after Aaron Rodgers said, I can't wait to work with him. I can't wait to see what he's going to blossom into. And they cut him the next day. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. It's like, hey, I'm the guy that's making this freaking thing go. And I'm putting confidence in this guy. I want to work with this guy. I want to see what this receiver can do. And you cut him. So there's a lot of things that the Packers, Brian Gutekunst and the Packers as a whole have done to make this situation even crappier. And then you got Matt LaFleur coming out. Oh, I want him to be the quarterback. He's kind of like the lame duck in this whole situation. I don't think he has a say or even has any influence with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they have that relationship. So it really doesn't matter what that guy says. It's all about getting everything figured out. And I really did think that if you threw a lot of money at him, and then they were talking about like $50 million or something like that a year for Aaron Rodgers, highest paid guy, whatever, there's still a chance that could work. But I would say that it's less than 50%. If that works, that he'll come back. And I think it's a higher percentage. I'm looking to more like in the 78. I would even say even higher than that. If if things fall into place, he does retire this season and not play football.
Yeah, so we'll see if they call his bluff. I'm sure Jeopardy could afford to pay him $40 million because someone's going to have to touch Matt $40 million as he's making 37 at the current moment. And again, that June 1st deadline, we'll have to keep an eye on that one as well. But Kurt Blankert, again, two Kurts in one name is just too much. I don't know how you go on with that. And we talk about, the ties with the Denver Broncos. They signed 3 offensive linemen over the last week. They signed Cam Fleming, former New York Giant. They bring in Bobby Massey, former Pro Bowler with the Chicago Bears, and also a former practice squad member of the Green Bay Packers. So maybe throwing a little bit in there as Broncos cut ties with Juwan James, and then they get more devastating news as Deshaun Hamilton tears his ACL on Friday morning as well. So a lot going on in the NFL, and maybe we'll get into more of that here later on the show. Number 1 on the ice list, Matt, we're going to switch gears to baseball. How about speaking of mucky waters, Matt, everyone questioned why the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Republican state of California, released designated Albert Pujols. He clears waivers. Nobody wanted a big bat in their lineup. Let's face it, he's only batting like 130 this season with 5 home runs, but it is Albert Pujols. You're going to draw a crowd. You're going to draw names, stuff like that. And of course, Matt, he ends up in the National League West with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I'm sure a lot of people in the NL West were just like, another NL West photo. There you go. Another NL West photo. There you go. And another one. So all those people were pretty mad, except for when the Dodgers saw all this news. They're just happy. So
yeah.
What did you make of this, man? Albert Pujols, a future Hall of Famer, 600 plus home runs in his career. This guy is extinguished. He's extinguished. He's distinguished in Major League Baseball. Albert Pujols, a Dodger. They don't have designated hitter. I don't know how much first base he's going to play with Max Muncy and Cody Bellinger. So what did you make of this move?
I got to tell you, it feels a little bit like number 19 Jerry Rice for me. Like, I don't know what they're, like you said, what are they going to do with him? Like, he's not going to play first, and the DA, he's going to, pinch hit every now and, like, I don't know. I guess it would be, does he have a ring? I can't remember.
Yeah, he won a ring with St. Louis back in
2000.
Was that 6?
Yeah, it was 2000. It was that was when when everybody went crazy. I remember. Yeah. I don't like the Dodgers. I'm not a Dodgers guy. So on one hand, I can look at it as if you're here in the National League West, you can go to the ballpark and you can maybe get your binoculars out and you can look and see Albert Pujols in the dugout. That could be something that's cool for baseball fans. But really, I don't know how much of an impact he's going to have. Like you mentioned, it's kind of like, come over here. You can sit on the veteran presence that do they need a veteran presence there in that dugout? Is it throwing a bone, cross town, whatever? So you don't really have to move. Hey, Albert, you don't really have to move. You just drive down or up, down, or are they down or up? I can't remember. Either way, it's California. He stays in California. It's really kind of like lukewarm for me. Like, I'm kind of like, whatever, it sucks. He's with the Dodgers, but there's nothing, we're not going to be able to see him on the field. Like, it's Max Muncy's there. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And this kind of reminds me a lot of Jason Giambi coming to the Rockies.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of big moments, a lot of pinch hit moments that Jason Giambi had with the Colorado Rockies, as well as, locally here in Denver. We kind of saw that firsthand. We're like, what is he going to do? There's no DH. You still had Todd Helton at first base back then. Where is he going to play? And he had a lot of big hits. So maybe kind of that role where, spell Max Muncy at time, like on night games, back-to-back day game. I don't know. Double headers that they're throwing in nowadays. I don't know. You probably will see him at first, maybe once a week. Maybe that's it, man. Maybe, pinch hit like we mentioned, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I want to get excited and say the guy's still in the league because that's still good. I guess what do you say he's batting, like 189 or something like that?
Like in the 130s.
Yeah, if he was still, because I think Giambi was still had that like power. And I'm not saying Albert Pujols doesn't have that power, have that chance to. He was, but Giambi was a left-handed bat, and Pujols is right-handed. Isn't he right-handed?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that offers any kind of matchup deals. Like I don't know. It's really, I want to be excited that the guy's still in the league, but it's because I don't want to say, hey, just retire, bro. But it's really it's like, where else would you want him to go? Like, he's not going to go across. He's not going to go to an American League team. It would have made more sense to go to American League team, but I mean, what team would that was be in that realm? That, because you would almost, when he came out, I was like, there's no way he goes to a team that's not in any kind of a hunt, that's not in any kind of a pennant race. There's no way he goes to a team like that. So, other than the Dodgers, what other team is there for him to go to? I mean, he's not going to go to San Diego, is he?
No, yeah, San Diego, he definitely wouldn't have a fit there. And as we mentioned, when he was, when his contract was up in St. Louis, it was a big deal. Right. And going to the Anaheim Angels or the LA Angels, whatever they are, that was kind of a big deal back then. But what kind of irked people was releasing or designating him in the 10th year, in the middle of the 10th year of that 10-year deal. So I don't know if he rubbed people the wrong way. There were reports that there were shouting matches between him and the manager in the dugout. So I don't know if that had a lot to do with it. And let's face it, the Angels are almost as bad as the Rockies, Matt. The Colorado Rockies sit 15-25 on the season. The LA Angels are 16-22, bottom of the AL West. Speaking of the AL West, Matt, let's tie this in really quickly to our ice list. We didn't get to this last week, but the team that's in first place in the AL West, the Oakland A's, 24-17, may not be the Oakland A's for that much longer, as the state and city have don't want them to get a new stadium. They're in Oakland. They're still playing in the old Raiders Coliseum. That's how bad this situation is. And let's face it, when the Raiders were there and when the A's were, they still can't get people in that stadium. It's falling apart. I don't know if you've seen Moneyball, but there was a good shots of the stadium there. But I mean, could we see the A's follow the Raiders to Vegas? I mean, the first Major League Baseball team in Vegas. Could we see that happen? Could we see them go to a state that doesn't have a baseball team? I mean, they could probably stay in California. California is big enough, and a big market to hold multiple teams like they already do. But what do you make of the Oakland A's possibly not being the Oakland Athletics anymore?
It's right in line, and it's like I feel like it's a long time coming that this would happen. Like, everything that I've read and I remember talking about is that Oakland, that's why the Raiders aren't there anymore. They went back and forth. They kept going from Los Angeles to Oakland and back and forth. There was a lot of issues with that going on there. And then they're always with the Moneyball situation, right? If you're, and I love that. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Anytime it's on TV in anywhere, shape or form, I gotta feel like I gotta watch it. I've read the book. I got it sitting right here. Sometimes I'll read the book. It's one of my favorite stories. And then the way that baseball organization was, I've always admired that organization. When I was coaching Little League, I had an athletics team, so it was it would be interesting to see them follow Vegas, to go into Las Vegas, and I don't know if that stadium is I'm sure they can turn it into a baseball stadium and just run it back like they did in Oakland, and the A's and the Raiders in the same place, but I'm not sure. But I do miss, real quick, like nostalgia, I do miss watching Raiders football games, and then you're getting, tackled at second base whenever you see the Broncos play. That is kind of nostalgic for me, but it is very interesting that they're going to lose a baseball team like that. That's got a lot of story, man. That's a storied franchise in any way, shape, or form, however you want to look at it. We talked about Jason Giambi earlier. They had Johnny Damon there. There was the pitcher. I'm missing names coming out. Yeah, Miguel Tejada, one of my favorite shortstops ever, was playing on that team.
Barry Zito,
yes.
Mark Mulder.
Mark McGuire was there too. Yeah. Jose Canseco. I mean, you just go down the freaking line of players that were on that franchise that played for that team. So it's a storied team. And hey, Mike, how about this? I don't know how this works. I don't know how this would work though, but what if we trade the Colorado Rockies
I'm down already. You don't even have to finish.
Right? I mean, I love the guys. Look, I've watched this team and I'm falling in love with the Colorado Rockies team. But if it's like the organization and if we're going to get an organization mind that the Oakland Athletics have, and we get, to have that come here, I'm down. Let's do it all. Or how about the Denver Athletics, and they can go play at what the hell's the sports? What the heck's that field called? The old or geriatrics stadium. What's it called?
Which one?
The over Empowerment Field. What the Mile High? I forgot what the heck it's called now.
Oh, Empowerment Field.
Is it Empowerment Field? Isn't that a retirement company?
Field?
Anyway, I'm sorry. Bad joke. Bad old man joke. Sorry.
But
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I would definitely want to at least try to trade the Colorado Rockies for the Oakland Athletics and let Dick Monfort figure out that stadium. I mean, he did get a party deck and they're building a new Loto.
Right.
So he's able to turn a little bit of nothing into something. So go to California and figure that out. All right, let's move on to our fire list. Matt, don't know if you were it was kind of a weird timing of the day, Matt, yesterday, the Basketball Hall of Fame, but a lot of big names went into the Hall of Fame. And here is a little bit of audio from last night.
Congratulations, baby. All of your hard work and sacrifices paid off. You once told me, if you're going to bet on someone, bet on yourself. I'm glad you bet on yourself, you overachiever. You did it. You're in the Hall of Fame now. You're a true champ. You're not just an MVP. You're an all-time great. I'm so proud of you. I love you forever and always. Kobe Bean Bryant.
There you go, Matt. Little snippet of the late, great Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa Bryant. Yesterday in the Basketball Hall of Fame, along with Kobe, goes in Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Rudy Tomjanovich. A lot of big names going into the Hall of Fame this year. Next year's class, already 2 names have snuck through the cracks. Ben Wallace and Chris Webber will be part of next year's Hall of Fame class, Matt. But I don't know if you caught it. A very emotional speech there by Vanessa Bryant. Of course, they save her for last. Michael Jordan stood by her as he presented Kobe. And before that was Tim Duncan, presented by David Robinson. Tim Duncan, Tim Duncan, one of the dudes, Matt, that played the game the right way. I mean, you didn't hear anything from him off the court. 2-time MVP, 5-time champion. I mean, the dude just played the game the right way. I mean, the battles between him and Kobe, him and KG were absolutely, electric back in the day. And I don't really like Tim Duncan's hair nowadays, but I was like, is that Tim Duncan? Yeah. But, he's so soft-spoken, Matt. I mean, he played with his game was kind of boring, if you remember. But, he just did things the right way. And I like him now. I mean, I didn't know he was that soft-spoken, Matt. And he probably hates talking in front of people more than I probably hate talking in front of people, which is why I hide behind a mic. So there you go. What did you make of the Hall of Fame yesterday?
It was one of the better NBA Hall of Fames that I've had a chance to see or catch. And those are legit Hall of Famers that you put in there. We always joke about the Naismith, the NBA Hall of Fame, whatever the heck it's called, about it's like everybody gets in there. It's like Oprah, everybody gets one. But this was one there where these guys are legit Hall of Famers. They're legitimately one of the greatest, 1 through 20. You could put them in there 1 through 10 even. And even in some case, I wouldn't say 1 through 5, but you could put these in those top 10 players categories, these players that went in. And Tomjanovich is a great freaking coach. I remember seeing him with the Houston Rockets, are one of the ones that I remember the most. And I think he coached KG in Minnesota too, I want to say, but that was cool to see all that. And it was Kobe Bryant. I wish, because I watched him play and I was a fan of him playing. I hated him because he was on the Lakers, but I was a fan of him because I knew how good he was. But I wish I would have paid attention more to him and what he does and what he brought. Because all this stuff that I'm seeing coming out, after the Mamba mentality and all that stuff, I didn't know about. And there was even a comment that he said that and it sheds light on what's going on today, that I'm going to make sure that I show up to play every single game, because I don't know if there's somebody in that building, in that arena, that saved up all their money to buy a ticket to come and watch me play. So I'm going to make sure I'm there playing. And that just goes in the face with all this load management BS that's going on out there with Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, all these guys that do this BS. I'm not going to, stray away from the conversation, but look at Nikola Jokic. I was scared to death that he's been playing these past couple games, and has the same mentality, same attitude. So it was great to see that and everything else that she talked about and said there too. But there was one thing too, that KG, when he was going, remember, and thanking all his players, or, thanking the people, he didn't mention Ray Allen, did he? I don't remember him mentioning Ray Allen.
Ooh, KG. No, he mentioned Paul Pierce.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And Doc Rivers, obviously, but
that was interesting to me. Like, Ray Allen was a big part of them winning that championship.
It was Rondo.
And Rondo, yeah. So, I mean, that's where playoff Rondo happened. So it was very interesting to me that, like, I don't know if there's any beef there or whatever happened there. Maybe ran out of time. I don't know. But that was interesting to me. And like you said, with the big fundamental, man, I hated those San Antonio teams because they were so freaking good. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Bruce Bowen, and then you had in Robert Horry there for a little bit, Big Shot Bob. So there was a lot to dislike about those teams. But yeah, you said it. He always played the game the right way, I guess is the way you want to say it. Just no flash, just, get a rebound, get to your spot on the floor, get to where defensively, he was one of the best defensive players like that I've seen. So, or that you've seen as a big man. So, I mean, it was good to watch him. And I do remember, I have a lot of memories of watching those San Antonio, Los Angeles Lakers series with Shaq and all those. They were great series to watch.
Yeah. And I don't know if this meant, and I don't know if you caught this by Kevin Garnett as well, but remember, he tried to purchase the Minnesota Timberwolves before A-Rod was able to do it. And, KG came out with, I don't know what platform it was on, but, he said, you could play for the team for 20 years, but they won't let you buy it. And, yesterday, I don't know if you caught this, Matt, he said he's going, he wants to rebuild Minneapolis. I don't know if if that's subtle shade thrown to the Minnesota Timberwolves, not letting him buy it, but, rebuilding Minneapolis, rebuilding Minnesota. I mean, that kind of caught my ear, meaning like, you guys didn't let me buy it. Is he going to, like, I don't know, start a new team? I don't know. I don't know what that meant, but I think it had something to do with them not letting him purchase or be part of a group to purchase the Timberwolves.
I mean, did he win a championship for Minnesota? He had to go do it somewhere else. So in my opinion, I understand that he's got those Minnesota ties. That's where he started playing basketball and all that, but he didn't win a title there. If he won a title there, it's totally different. I understand. Hey, do your best to make sure this guy's part of our organization. Maybe he gets a front office job. Maybe he gets something like that, like a la John Elway, maybe. Because I know John Elway had to go in to kind of get the surroundings and learn all the mechanics and everything it is to be in ownership. He went and bought the Crush, that Arena Football League team. So maybe that's a way that Kevin Garnett can go to get into that element. But yeah, I did hear that, and I was that's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, all I remember is you see him standing there, anything's possible, screaming with a Celtics jersey on. It wasn't a Timberwolves jersey on. It was a Celtics jersey. Whether that's his fault or not, it was still a Celtics jersey. So in my mind, in that situation, he doesn't have any right or have any, first come first, like he's got like the first, if he's going to be somebody's going to purchase an athlete, it's going to be somebody that's former there. I mean, why doesn't Sam Cassell want to get in with him and buy it? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Looking at it with him. Maybe he can get in the front office job or something like that. Maybe that's kind of where his if he wants to get involved with it, maybe that's where he can do it.
Yeah, so we'll see what next for Kevin Garnett. Also, as you mentioned, Rudy Tomjanovich, others getting in to the Basketball Hall of Fame as well. Yeah, he was the head coach, Matt, of those two Houston Rocket teams that went back-to-back in the absence of Michael Jordan in the league. So, the teams with Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Kenny the Jet Smith were on those teams. So, how about this? I didn't know this stat, but when they were announcing Rudy Tomjanovich, Matt, the first ever person in pro basketball to score over 10,000 points as a player and win over 500 games as a head coach with the same organization, the Houston Rockets. So interesting stat there. Yeah, that was a cool stat. We are going to hold off on our other fire list because it has to do with hockey. We're going to have Carl from the Fourth Line Hockey Podcast join us here in just a little bit to talk about the NHL playoffs. Until then, we'll dive into more NBA, more NFL when we return right here on the Wheelhouse, Elevation 5280sports.com.
Away from your computer? No problem. Take Elevation 5280 Sports everywhere you go. iPhone and Android users, download the F-Stream or TuneIn apps, all free. Once you do that, plug in the custom link posted on elevation5280sports.com, then you're good to go on the go. Elevation5280sports.com. Careful, it's tough to breathe up here.
Wow, that's a lot of books. Little one at home? Yeah. Let's see. Child-proofing your home, child-proofing your yard, child-proofing your in-laws' home and yard.
Of all the things you can read to keep your child safe, the most important is attached to their car seat. Read the instruction manual and use the latch system. It makes it easier to be sure your child's car seat is installed correctly. Learn more at safercar.gov. Anchor, tether, latch. The next generation of child safety. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Michael Spillane here for Anchor.fm, Elevation 5280's new podcasting hosting platform. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. You can't beat that. Next, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can then make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Once again, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
There's nothing better than sitting in your local barbershop talking sports with everyone.
We understood the sacrifices that we were making. We understood the condition and the landscape that we were going into, along with the bubble.
Sorry, not with LeBron James. Join Daryl Lane with special guest host Kenny Sem from 24/7 Sports on Barbershop Sports Talk every Monday evening at 8 Mountain. It'll be like you're back in the chair getting a fresh cut.
One of these teams, Kenny, is going to be out of the playoffs. We are going to have, Kenny, a 10-win team not in the playoffs. When I tell you that, how crazy is that team? That we can have a team with 10 wins not make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's really sad for a team that's going to have 10 wins and going to be on the outside looking in. The NFL went about it having an additional team this year qualified for the playoffs. At 7 teams per conference, it's supposed to be easier to make the playoffs. And this year it looks like it's harder to make the playoffs, especially in the AFC. I mean, realistically, looking at the schedule, be talking about a team being left out with 11 wins next week. 11.
Once again, catch Barbershop Sports Talk every Monday evening at 8. Only on Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here.
Well, I wonder what it's like to be the rainmaker.
And welcome back into the program here. Matt and Mike hanging out with you on Elevation5280sports.com. We are now proudly joined by Carl Landra from the Fourth Line Hockey Podcast, and a lot to get to as the NHL playoffs kicked off yesterday. Carl, how are you this morning?
Doing well, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's been almost a long time coming. We've been in talks for a while, but finally happy to get you on. Carl, we'll start with the games last night. We saw the Capitals beat the Bruins in overtime. We saw the Canucks take care of the Oilers. Now, being here in Colorado, Carl, we obviously see the presidential trophy winning Colorado Avalanche firsthand. But I want to get your opinion on the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Tampa Bay won it last year. Is there anyone in the East who stand out to you to perhaps make it all the way to the Cup Finals? Is there anyone that stands out right now for you?
I think Tampa's a very good team still, right? Getting Kucherov and Stamkos back right now. It's hard to know exactly where they're at, like conditioning wise, not playing. Kucherov not playing all year, Stamkos missing a significant time. So Getting those two back, I think Tampa's the favorite right now, even with like all the other teams. Like I think Tampa, out of the Eastern teams, out of that, but they're in that Central division now, I think they'd be my favorite to come out of there. And then I guess we'll see where they'd match up against in that Final Four.
Yeah, and again, here in Colorado, we get to see the Colorado Avalanche really quickly here. Also in the West, the Golden Knights, their first expansion year, they make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. They get kind of pushed to second place this season, based on regular season wins, taking on the Minnesota Wild in the first round of the playoffs. Is there any way that you could see Minnesota taking down the vaunted Golden Knights?
Absolutely. I also, even though I'm coming from Calgary, I am an Avalanche fan, and I was terrified of having to face the Wild. Like I just saw a million different ways that the Avalanche could have lost to the Wild in this first round matchup. I'm very glad that they're facing the Blues now. And I see, the Wild started the season, with mixed expectations and where they've gotten to. And they've, I think Kaprizov has really come to light of what he can do. Very unexpected, but I mean, he's shown by now what he's able to accomplish. And I very much could see them. I think if any team were to be the upset of the playoffs, I think this Wild team could be.
When it's been a while since I've really focused into hockey. I'm an old school defensive hockey guy. Ever since they got rid of the double line pass, I kind of like, it was like, it's not me anymore. So as far as hockey goes, like I'll catch in and I'll pop in and watch it. But I always remember during playoff time, the hot goaltender was the one that was a team that if you had a hot goaltender on your team, you can ride that through the playoffs. This season, is there a hot goaltender going into the playoffs, or is there somebody that can get hot and carry their team throughout the playoffs? If you would have to guess, if there's a hot goaltender out there, who would you guess?
Well, if I had to guess only one, I mean, the easy choice would be Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg. He's carried that team for the last number of years. I think he could, facing the Oilers in this first round, I think it's going to be a difficult task to shut down Connor McDavid right now. But if they can pull that off, then I'm looking there. Other choices, Simi Varlamov out on the island, or just like in general, the Islanders goaltending. And even though I just said the Wild could be the upset, I would not be surprised if that person was Marc-Andre Fleury or even Robin Lehner in Vegas.
Does the old buck Craig Anderson, does he have enough left in the tank to help this Washington team get to the promised land once again? Speaking of goaltenders,
watching that game last night, and all of a sudden you see Vanacek go down, and like I think we all had to sit there and wonder who is their backup, because Samsonov, who normally was in COVID protocol. I believe as of this morning he is out of COVID protocol, and so from what I understand, he is the favorite to start game 2. So hopefully for the Capitals, we don't have to wonder if Craig Anderson has enough. But I mean, he started 2 games this year and turns 40 years old on Friday. I'm not sure that that's the goalie that I want rolling out there against any team in the playoffs, let alone a Bruins team that knows what they're doing.
What do you think? Like guy like me, I'm gonna watch these Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm gonna get in there and watch them. What right now in the first round? What's the best series for somebody like me that wants to get back in there and watch it? What should I be watching?
I mean, you should be watching your Colorado Avalanche stomp the Blues in the first round. That's what you should be watching. Aside from that, I think you could. I'm looking at like high scoring, fun matchups. I would be watching Tampa and Florida. Even though they're in the same state, they've never met in the playoffs. This is the first time. I think that's going to be a fun one. Toronto and Montreal is one that I'm looking at as well. Toronto's been able to score a ton this year. I'm not sure that series will be that close. So it might be like you tune in for the first couple periods and then it's over and you can flip over to something different. But those are the ones that kind of stand out to me in this first round. I'm just trying to think. I mean, the Pittsburgh New York series, since we haven't touched on that one yet, that's starting up this morning, is probably going to be the lowest scoring of all the series. So if you like defensive hockey, that's the one for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of these Canadian series, obviously the divisions were kind of scrambled around, for travel and COVID purposes. And once again, we have Carl on from the Fourth Line Hockey Podcast. You can look at the screen right there. If you're listening, you can follow Carl at Carl Fourth Line and follow his podcast at Fourth Line Podcast. Of these two Canadian series, we once again have the Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal Canadiens, and the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers. Who wins the Canada tournament, so to speak? And really quickly here also, how is it going to work when the Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals come around? How is that going to work with traveling in and out of Canada? Are they going to move the Canadian teams to the US? How does it, because last year we obviously saw the bubbles up in Canada. How is that going to work? If you have found out yet, how is that going to work with the conference finals and the Stanley Cup final?
So starting with how it's going to work, I don't think, from what I know, they have not decided yet how that's going to work. The current leader in the clubhouse is that they will go to potentially a neutral site, and just use another arena instead of staying there. I think Buffalo has been one that's been mentioned. I'm not sure if they've taken the ice out of that arena yet. And so Buffalo might be one, especially with Toronto being the likely main team. They're close. There's a fan base there. They could have fans in the building. So Buffalo might be the place where they end up playing. And I don't think that they're going to fully announce that until we get to second round and even like that round ending. So that's where we're looking at. Matchup wise, I mean, I think Toronto's the top team. Them and Edmonton are quite similar in a number of ways. I mean, they have great offenses, and as you move backwards, they become weaker. Toronto just does everything a little bit better, but Connor McDavid is having one of the best seasons of certainly our generation, but of all time. And I think it's, you can have him just put the team on his back and go. And I'm not going to sit here and count out a team with the best player of the last 10, 15, 20 years playing.
Right. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Last one for me, Carl. We're going to bring it back home here to Colorado. Ryan O'Reilly, the captain of and former Avalanche, by the way, came out and said, all but said, and I'm paraphrasing, they're going to win this series. Avalanche struggled in a couple games against St. Louis this year, so that'll be interesting. But, to win the President's Trophy on the final game of the season, absolutely blowing out the LA Kings those last two games to be able to get that President's Trophy. The last time the Avalanche won the President's Trophy, that's a lot of President's Trophies in one sentence, but last time they won it, it was 20 years ago in 2001 when they actually did win the Stanley Cup, the last time they won the Stanley Cup. But can you see a way St. Louis wins this series? Obviously, the Avs struggled in a couple games against the Blues, but is there any way St. Louis and Ryan O'Reilly get out of this first round?
I can see a way. I mean, I can see a way that any series can end up this way. I do think that, especially with the news yesterday that David Perron is entering COVID protocol just yesterday, and there's no full news of did he test positive? Was he a close contact? Could it be a false positive? As of right now, their leading scorer for this year in Perron is going to be out for at least game number 1. Who knows what will go from there? But all of those games against the Blues, have been pretty close this year. Like the Avalanche have managed to play them close. The Blues have done well. Jordan Binnington's continuing to play quite well, and that's what got like you talked about before. The hot goaltender can carry a team far in the playoffs, and he did that in leading the Blues to a Stanley Cup. So could I see it where he does that again? Absolutely. However, this Avalanche team is unreal. And we saw when it's a different level of competition playing the Kings last week, but we saw when they played the Kings and they were determined that they wanted that, right? That first game went out and just put the stomp to them. Game 2, Kings went out, got that early goal, got them a little upset, and they came out and dominated the rest of that game and just like put it in full, like, we are going to win and we do not care how many goals we score. We're showing you we are the best team in this league. And they did. And they also did it without Nathan McKinnon. And so I think seeing all those guys being able to perform and getting some of them at their peak was really good. And I'm excited to see what they can do against this Blues team.
Matt, do you have anything else?
I was just gonna say, I mean, I want to ask you, how do you feel about Chris Drury taking over? Because I was watching something the other day, and Chris Drury got on into my radar because it kind of hurt me in my soul. It reminded me of what happened and how my fandom for the Avs kind of went downhill after they did all that with way back in. I know it was like 2000, it was like 2005, something way back in the day, but he's now the Rangers GM. And how does it is there's some beef there with Buffalo, if I can remember right now, but I mean, what does that look like with going forward with Chris Drury? I know it's a random question, but I've been really wanting to ask that. Like, well, how's that going forward there? Is that a good move there for them?
That was quite the dramatic situation that even led to him getting that job. And so I would not want to be the guy stepping into that GM role right now. So good on Chris for taking that. And I wish him the best, but I do not want with the way that firing happened and just all the situations around there, would not want to be him. But I mean, we continue to see these players from, some of those players and Drury was one of those guys that was like a smart player on the ice. And we see them now, Joe with the Avalanche, I think of Steve Yzerman with the Red Wings, and some of those guys taking these roles and being incredibly talented in that position, being able to evaluate players and to really know what you need to build that team. I think he's going to be good at it. I mean, I don't know front office wise what exactly his roles and those decisions he'd made before were, but taking what he had on the ice and trying to extrapolate that to the front office, I think he'll be great.
That cut me deep, man. That guy's one of my favorite all-time players. That just, that cut me deep when we traded him, man. Sorry to bring it up, but
no, let's heal that wound. Let's make that happen this morning.
Oh man.
Well, since Matt asked a random question, I'll ask a random question, and then we'll let you go. Also, kind of ties in with the text we got as well. But John Tortorella will be coaching who next?
Ooh, the name that comes out the most so far is also the New York Rangers, because they're also now in need of a coach. I would not want to bring Torts in to coach that team. I think that they'd be better off with, like, I know also Jarek Gallant's interviewed there. I think that would be the better coach to bring in there. I'm just trying to think of some coaches. I mean, I would not be surprised if the Red Wings are going to be looking for a coach. I wouldn't see them bringing him in. Where else was there? There was somewhere else. I mean, Buffalo's going to need a coach, and that's a team that's really been struggling. I would not be, they do have a coach in place, but I think that Torts would be a great fit there. Offhand, that's the first one that comes to mind. I'm just trying to scour my brain here of other spots that are going to have coaching changes this year. So that's the first one that I think of. But man, I would not be. I know that he has a great track record but he also leaves every situation that he's in a pile of hurt. And I would not be excited. I mean, it'd feel great for the first couple of years. I'd be like, John, we're hiring you for a 2 or 3 year deal. I don't want it to get to the situation like Columbus ended up in this year, where he's benching guys and just everyone's upset and everyone's frustrated and no one wants to be there. It's miserable.
All right, Carl, we want to thank you for
Carl.
your time this morning. Once again, you can follow Carl on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast, and you can follow him personally as well at Carl Fourth Line. Carl, thank you so much for the time this morning.
Thanks, gentlemen, and go Avs.
Go Avs, go is what we're saying here in Colorado. All right, we are going to wrap things up here when we return from our last timeout. We may, again, Matt, have to push this date in jerseys until next week. But we want to thank Carl Landro once again for joining us here this morning, talking everything hockey. We'll be right back to wrap things up on the Wheelhouse Elevation, 5280sports.com.
NFL Analysis Network is your one-stop source for coverage of all 32 teams. We provide in-depth analysis, news, and opinions about all things football. Since you're online anyway, check out NFLanalysis.net. Elevation 5280 Sports' exclusive new teammate on the gridiron.
Hey, Michael Spillane here, and if you're like me, you love sports, which is probably why you're listening to this awesome station. Well, since you're online, head on over to FanDuel.com, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. What's great about FanDuel is you can pick a different team every day, so you're not stuck with the same team all season long, dealing with injuries, adding and dropping players. There's no season-long commitment. You also don't have to wait until the end of the season to collect your money. Nope, you get it all at the end of the day. Now that baseball is in full swing, there are tons of different leagues you can join, 50-50 leagues to head-to-head ones, and also different kinds of tournaments. Also, join some NBA and NHL playoff leagues as well. Once again, join FanDuel today, the leader in one-day fantasy sports.
Ranger Station.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting in the forest. 1 second, I'm having a smoke. Next thing I know, I'm face-to-face with Smokey Bear. Wow. And he told me it only takes one spark to start a wildfire.
Did you know 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans?
I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous and you're not. Get your Smokey on. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Here in Colorado, we wear shorts in warm weather and in 5 feet of snow. Woo! We also talk sports year-round. Join Matt Mascarenas every Monday evening at 6 Mountain for your sports shorts.
But it means a hell of a lot to a football team with a brand new head coach who is a brand new head coach in his own right. A veteran coach, but brand new head coach who almost didn't even make the football game. Vic Fangio, the new coach of the Denver Broncos, almost didn't even make his first NFL coaching debut because he had kidney stones. And he was there standing on the sidelines coaching football.
Once again, join Matt Mascarenas for Sports Shorts every Monday evening at 6 Mountain, only on Elevation5280sports.com. Elevating Internet Sports Radio. This segment on Elevation 5280 Sports is brought to you by the NFL Analysis Network, your one-stop source for all 32 teams.
And welcome back into the Wheelhouse here at Elevation5280sports.com. Once again, thank you for Carl Lander for hopping on and talking hockey with us as the playoffs kicked off yesterday. The Avalanche here locally, Matt, starting today against Ryan O'Reilly and the St. Louis Blues. Game 1 once again today. As also, Matt, kicking off here very shortly will be the NBA playoffs. A couple of these matchups already sort of set in stone as locally here in Denver, Matt. It is kind of almost in focus for right now, but as it sits kind of right now, the Denver Nuggets will hopefully maybe be playing the Portland Trail Blazers, which is kind of not an odd situation, Matt, but it is kind of where it sits right now. The play-in games right now in the West, Matt, Memphis and San Antonio, and the Lakers and Golden State, Matt. I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State won that one.
I'm right there with you. I actually have them winning that game, and I don't think Steph Curry is out of his freaking mind right now. And in my opinion, and it's just because I don't want Joker to win the MVP, because I want a pissed off Nuggets team. I want a pissed off Joker going into the playoffs. So I think Steph Curry should be the MVP, but that's, whatever. I mean, people are going to get all pissed off at me about that, but just for that reason alone. And I think the Lakers are a hell of a defensive team. They're really, really good, but I just don't know if the way that team is playing, and LeBron James, he didn't get the 5 months off for COVID this year. So, he's going to have to do things a little differently. And I just don't think that Lakers team right now is one of those teams that can, I have the Golden State Warriors winning that game. I really do. Now, that's not saying that the Lakers are going to lose to Memphis or San Antonio, whichever one of those teams win in that game. So they could be in that situation as well. But I agree with you, man. I don't think the Golden State Warriors, I don't think the Lakers are going to beat the Warriors.
So LeBron did come back, his first game back the other day. He had 24 points in a Lakers win. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also, if you don't know how the play-in tournament works, again, it'll be Memphis and Spurs, Lakers and Warriors. The winner of the 9-10 seed, which is Memphis and San Antonio, will play the loser, obviously, of the 7-8 seed. And then that team will go on to play the number 1 seed, which is the Utah Jazz. Number 2 is Phoenix. And so on and so on. The Clippers right now set to face the Dallas Mavericks as well. So Dallas actually playing pretty well these last couple of weeks, Matt, rising all the way to the 5th seed. So that'll be a good series as well. Over in the Eastern Conference, Matt, the play-in tournament as it sits right now, Washington and Indiana, who snuck into that 10th seed. How about them, huh? And then the Boston Celtics and Charlotte Hornets. We touched on Charlotte a couple weeks ago, Matt, and just to get LaMelo Ball on that playoff stage, Matt, is going to be good not only for the Hornets and Michael Jordan, really, but also for the NBA, because this kid is absolutely fun to watch. So that's going to be a good series. And, the 76ers, Nets, Bucks, Heat. And it's always a good thing when the New York Knicks are relevant again. But how about the Atlanta Hawks, Matt, sneaking into that number 5 seed?
I know nobody's talking about the Hawks, man. They're free. They're right there too. And the Eastern Conference is down the stretch here. They're starting to play some good basketball. Or I'm not going to say starting to play some good basketball, but there's good basketball being had in that Eastern Conference right now. And I was looking at that play-in scenario outside the Hornets, and there's nothing else there for me. But now I'm getting pumped up. I'm getting pretty excited for this play-in tournament for real. Like it's exciting, and I want to see what the Heat have to do over there in that, because they're starting to play really they're playing really good basketball. Bam Adebayo's doing well. Duncan Robinson, you got Jimmy Butler, Oladipo's there. So that I'm really curious to see what this Heat team could do, if they have anything for the Nets. And the Bucks quietly, secretly, I don't know if you want to go, they're under the radar, kind of, sort of, I guess. They're still hanging around there too. So they're starting to play really good basketball as well. So winners of what are they, 3 in a row? And I'm excited for this stuff. Like I thought the Eastern Conference is going to be one, whatever it is, but it's looking pretty competitive.
Yeah, and the question that has been almost since the beginning of the year, Matt, is the Brooklyn Nets going to be the odds-on favorite really to come out of that Eastern Conference? And Philadelphia is going to have something to say with that. Hopefully, maybe the defending Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat, as you mentioned, have something to say with that, or one of these teams who kind of snuck into their playoff seeds, the Knicks, the Atlanta Hawks, maybe one of those play-in games. You really never know what's going to happen with Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook in Washington. Good to see them sort of relevant, hanging on to one of those play-in games. The Indiana Pacers couldn't name you one person on their team. So, they have, I think one of their best players is like here in Denver, just a white dude. So
it's Sabonis, I believe. Yeah.
Is that Arvidas's kid? Is that who that is?
Hey, I want to say yeah. But because it makes sense for it to be his kid, right?
Yeah. So and of course the Boston Celtics hanging on to that 7th seed as well. So we'll keep an eye on it as the playoffs are going to begin here very, very soon. And I think pretty soon they're going to kick this play-in game tournament, I think in the next couple of days, man. So
yeah,
we'll keep an eye on that. But that is going to do it for us here on this one. We want to again thank Carl Landra for joining us once again. Go follow them at the Fourth Line Hockey Podcast on Twitter. A lot of good stuff over there as well. And thank you for the couple of texts we got as well. Matt, any final remarks heading into NHL playoffs, Aaron Rodgers saga?
I'm gonna watch the Avs. I'm gonna watch hockey playoffs because I got Sling and we got the NHL channel now, so I've been watching a lot of recaps because I've been kind of paying attention, and I'm excited for that. I don't want to hear any more about Rodgers, and I don't want to hear any more about freaking Tim Tebow this week. My goodness. Oh, Timmy Tryhard. You know, I was all hot and bothered last Monday for some reason. The Tebow love was like, oh God. So that, but I'm excited for the playoffs, NBA and NHL, and also to see where we go from here in MMA with this lightweight division, and to see how what happens, they extend it from Conor McGregor, and then what we go from there. So I'm excited about that.
All right. And correction here, the Avalanche actually start tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow, Monday evening at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. But the playoff games that are going to be on today will be the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. You have the Pittsburgh Penguins against the New York Islanders. And to kind of round things out, you will have the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning kicking off their series today as well. And I wanted to kind of add that really quickly here. I kind of wanted to add that Tebow thing to the ice list. Never got a chance to, but Matt, I wanted to add that because that is a complete circus. That is complete. I don't want to call it a train wreck yet, but it is going to be ugly. And I don't know if you heard a couple of rumblings, like, I don't want to get political or involve race, but why is Tim Tebow getting a job, Colin Kaepernick not? So that sparked all of that conversation once again. It sparked, and I forgot who it was. Was it the former former Jaguars wide receiver? Was it Jimmy Smith who said we need Tebow? Colin Kaepernick would have just created division. A lot of people arguing the other side. So it's, again, like you said, it's a big mess.
It's disgusting, and that's the fact that Colin Kaepernick got drug into this. Tim Tebow's going to play tight end, supposedly going to play tight end. He's not going to play quarterback. So I don't even know why we're talking about Colin Kaepernick.
What if Colin Kaepernick switched to like defensive back? Is that what people are saying?
I don't know. Maybe Colin should try to do that, but I don't think Colin's goal is to play quarterback. But yeah, again, we're not to play football quarterback. We're not going to get into that because that's a whole friggin' mess.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy the games that are going today. Once again, hockey playoffs getting into full swing here. NBA playoffs starting soon. If you're a baseball fan, obviously in the thick of things right now, go watch Albert Pujols in Weird Dodger Blue, I guess, if you want to do that.
And watch Shinio Otani. That guy is my God. He might be the greatest baseball player since Babe Ruth. I don't know or Hank, or I don't know, however, but my gosh.
And it kind of stinks that he's on a very crappy baseball team.
I know.
Right, and Mike Trout. You have two of the best players in the game on a bad team, and then you designate Albert Pujols, which, again, we don't know the backstory of that, but still, kind of weird things out there in Anaheim.
Right, but go watch Otani, man. My gosh, I have not have so much fun watching one guy play baseball in a long time.
All right, we're going to get out of here. For Matt Mascarenas, Carl Landro from joining us from the Fourth Line Hockey Podcast. I am Michael Spillane. We will talk to you next week.
I'm always on my own. I'm always on my own. I'm always on my own. I'm always on my own.